you fine-tune your application. But I'm serious. They have money to give. You're here. I know there's an individual category. I know, because I applied for it. There's a
Nigeria,
I also know.
a land of boundless potential, a vibrant mix of cultures, languages, and traditions. Home to over 200 million people, from the bustling streets of Lagos to the serene landscapes of Obudu. Our soil is rich with resources, from the crude oil that fuels economies to the fertile land that nurtures agriculture. But Nigeria's greatest asset is its people, innovative, resilient, and ever hopeful. We are a nation shaped by diverse tribes, religions, and histories, united in building a shared future. Though rich in resources and spirit, we still face challenges.
Africa. LEAP Africa is a 21-year-old youth development organization. We work with young people to build their leadership capacity and get them to contribute to their communities. And one of our interventions is the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund. And through the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund, it basically was birthed as a result of the EndSARS, where we saw just how much young people wanted to influence change, influence policy, and be part of the conversations, and really be seated at the table. But along the lines, we also saw the gaps that young people needed to be provided capacity building to be able to sit on tables that matter and also contribute to decision making. Young people also needed resources to be able to carry out interventions in sort of changing their communities and really just be part of a community of like-minded people. And we'll talk about that much later. But today we're here for the Youth Leadership Development Program. This is a program for undergraduates still under the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund. And what we're doing with this is basically, again, building the capacity of young people in Nigeria's tertiary institution. And after their training, they go on to either implement projects in their communities or be part of the debate competition. And on the debate competition, they are speaking on policy matters. They're taking through trainings on critical thinking, public speaking, debating skills, and they're able to reason more critically about matters. They're not just arguing on Twitter or X Space, the new name. They're not just arguing on X Space blindly, but they're thinking about it from a more knowledgeable light. And this year, when we set out for the Youth Leadership Development Program, we had entries from 4,100 students from across 360 tertiary institutions in Nigeria. I think that deserves a round of applause. Please, a round of applause. So one way or the other, we were either in your school or your alma mater. Definitely had students participating. And on the debates, we got entries from about 26 tertiary institutions on the debates. After a series of debates and campus tours, we've come to the grand finale. So the grand finale today, we have, I'll be speaking to that yes. We have students, we basically right now at our grand finale have the Lagos State University and the Federal University of Technology, Akure, as our finalists on the debate. Again, they'll be contesting and would have to come up with a grand prize. But before I call up our debaters, I'd like to introduce our judges. Our judges are sitting and ready to deliver. So with us this morning is, and she really just walked in, our Director of Programs at LEAP Africa, Ms. Amabel Wakama. Please come over. We have our seats for judges here. Please come over. Please a round of applause again. We also have, as part of our judges, Mr. Elijah Elvis Craftman. He's the head of branding business growth at Tradeway Limited. Please a round of applause as he comes forward. Thank you. And our final judge for today is Dr. Adamu Aminu, Associate Professor of Economics at the Now University. Please, a round of applause for him as he comes forward. Yes, make it louder, please, a loud sounding one. Fantastic. And of course, we have our debaters. I'm going to have them come up so they are seated here and they can quickly come up to take their presentation. So I'm going to call up the team from Federal University of Technology, Akure, Akinwola Daniel, and Osunsaki Samuel. Please come up very quickly. Let's make it fast. And then the team from Lagos State University, Oladipupo Ramadan, and Ajenia Abdul Kadri. Yes. Please a round of applause as they come up. Very quickly, let's move. Thank you. Awesome, thank you. The topic we'll be speaking to in just a couple of minutes, and I'll go over the ground rules for the debaters. A threat to nationals, to Nigeria's unity. Sorry, let me take that very quickly. Secessionist agitations are a legitimate call for constitutional restructuring and decentralization of power, not a threat to Nigeria's unity. We have the team from Lagos State University supporting that motion, and the team from Federal University of Technology, Akure, opposing that motion. Media guys, please can we minimize the distraction? Thank you so much. So I'm going to be calling up the team proposing debaters. When you come up, you stand by the podium and you take your presentation. I'm going to be calling up the team proposing this motion, supporting this motion. And that's the first speaker from the Lagos State University, Oladipupo Ramadan. You've got 5 minutes.
Just to be clear, we're standing by the podium, and also how to see the time.
We'll signal you. Please look at IJ.
Just give me a moment to set up a timer on my phone so I can use that.
Okay, very quickly. We also have Ijoma Kalu right there, who is helping out with the timer. And you can also look in her direction. She would also raise her hand to give you a nudge on when that's up. Did we all get that? Great. And your time.
Panel, I have this bottle. Imagine I invite 2 people upstage to drink from this bottle. The first person drinks, chokes, and dies. The second person drinks, chokes, and dies. If I hand you this bottle to drink from, you definitely disagree because you have assumed that this bottle is bad. However, if I show you 10 other people that have drank from this bottle and are doing just fine, you open your minds to the realization that the bottle may not be bad. You just saw bad examples. But that doesn't mean the content is bad. This bottle is secessionist agitation. Several countries have drank from it and are doing just fine. However, we have been exposed to bad examples, but that doesn't mean this bottle is bad. Today's debate asks us a question. Is secessionist agitation a legitimate call for constitutional reform and decentralization, or a threat to national unity? The most important part of this question is the first 3 words. Is secessionist agitation, because this shows that this question is one to concept and not of practice. Because while we completely disagree with secessionist practices that lead to loss of lives and properties, we stand by the concept because it has been proven to be a legitimate call for constitutional reform, decentralization, and is not a threat to national unity. However, the key words for today's debate still need clarification. Secessionist agitation, according to Encyclopedia Britannica, is an organized movement by a group of people who advocate for the formation of an independent state, usually when they feel like they've been politically oppressed or marginalized. Advocacy being our key word, which according to the Oxford Dictionary is suggesting a particular policy as a solution to a problem. So in a nutshell, secessionist agitation happens when a group of people feel like they've been oppressed and then nothing has been done about it. So to prefer a solution, they suggest that they form an independent state, so they have autonomy and the problem is solved. It is on this premise that we raise our arguments. To do this, I would establish 2 premises. First, prove that it is not a threat to unity, and second, prove that it is a legitimate call for decentralization and a reform of the Constitution. To begin with, proving that it is not a threat to unity. You see, it doesn't matter how good a policy is. If it is abused, it becomes a problem. It's the same with secessionist agitation. Even if it is a legitimate call for constitutional reform and decentralization, if it is abused, it becomes a problem, but that doesn't change it from being a legitimate call for reformation. On the 26th of August 2019, Red Tree Secession published a report that revealed that when Norway and Denmark were still a joint nation, Norway felt oppressed and politically marginalized. So what they did was they suggested the formation of an independent state. And eventually, they resolved peacefully, and they still maintained healthy diplomatic and united relationship even after the resolution. But you know what would have happened without secessionist agitation? What would have happened is dissatisfaction between these regions would have led to increased tension, damaged the very unity, and then there would be nothing for us to gain from it. So this shows that secessionist agitation, when being used properly, is a legitimate call for constitutional reform and is not a threat to unity. So when my opponents come up here to tell you cases of when secessionist agitation has been abused and try to fail you with that ideology, I want us to remember that drugs get abused every day and people will die, but that doesn't mean it's not a legitimate cure for illness. Moving on to the second agenda for today, proving that it's a legitimate call for attention. While a government has many duties, the ultimate responsibility, according to the World Economic Forum on the 13th of February 2021, is to protect its citizens from violence. So anything that threatens violence is a legitimate call for government attention. It's no news that when the government ignores secessionist movements, violence ensues, and we saw it with Biafra, we saw it with the Oduduwa Nation. So it's established that not responding to secessionist movements causes violence, and that is the ultimate responsibility of the government, to prevent this violence from happening. Meaning secessionist agitation is a legitimate call for government attention through a constitutional reform or decentralization. Lastly, I want us to imagine a child is crying and the mother ignores. The child starts destroying things, the mother ignores. The child harms himself in the process and the mother still ignores. You would imagine that she is a bad mother, because the cry of a child alone is a legitimate call for attention. Let's put it into context. During the movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta, according to the Harvard Division for Religion and Public Life, this movement was announced and ignored. Destruction and self-harm still ensued before government intervention. And as already established by the analogy, the government refused to attend to the cry, and the government started administering medicine after death, meaning they ignored a legitimate call for government intervention through a constitutional reform and decentralization. The premise of today's debate is built on two pillars. First, a threat to unity, established. And second, that it is a legitimate call for decentralization and constitutional reform, which I've also established. Thank you.
Well done. Okay, that was a good first one. And yet again, we have the speaker from the opposing side, from the Federal University of Technology, Akure. Okay? Yeah, he needs to be ready. Yes, that's him just getting ready. Akinwola Daniel. He's a round of applause.
Once upon a time in the bustling city of Akure, there lived a young man named Musa, Musa the gatekeeper. Musa was very hungry. He stole to satisfy his hunger. The big question is this: should we justify stealing simply because it helps him achieve the need to survive, to quench his hunger? Ladies and gentlemen, the exact same thing is happening in today's debate. Our opponent wants to achieve constitutional restructuring and decentralization of power by legitimizing a movement that seeks to tear down the very Nigeria that our heroes past, that our patriotic citizens have sacrificed their lives to build over time. This and many reasons are why we stand firm on our position. Standing on the existing protocol is Daniel Akinwola, a student of the Federal University of Technology, Akure, and I will be opposing today's motion. What's our stance? Number one, we are fine with the implementation of constitutional restructuring and decentralization. What we oppose is the means in which we achieve it, which is secessionist agitation, as it is illegitimate. Secondly, is that we believe secessionist agitation is a threat to Nigeria's unity. Let's start from a base question. Why is secessionist agitation not a legitimate call? Number one, it opposes the very principle upon which Nigeria was built upon, ladies and gentlemen. Over 250 ethnic groups were marched together as one in 1914. This implies that Nigeria was built on the principle of unity in diversity. What secessionist agitation seeks to achieve is to break down and break away from existing states. They try to claim it is abuse and all of that. Whether abuse or not, the end goal is to break away from the existing state. And this is what we kick against as one Nigeria. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take them at their highest best, right? Let's assume secession does not later happen. This creates a very bad precedent, which is that citizens can now use secessionist movement as a legitimate call whenever they want to express displeasure to the government. And this is very bad for a country like Nigeria. What are the harms of this precedent? Number one, it undermines the democracy we practice. Section 39, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution states that citizens can voice grievances or displeasure with the government through democratic means such as peaceful protest, petitions, or public speeches. We agree these people have been marginalized, but there are legitimate ways to do it. And these are the things we just outlined, as they are enshrined in the Constitution and backed by legal principles. Secondly, it challenges our autonomy as a sovereign state. Section 37, subsection 1 of the Criminal Code Act criminalizes attempts to unlawfully overthrow or challenge the sovereignty of the state. They themselves defined it as breaking away from Nigeria. Therefore, it shows what they are supporting perfectly fits into this description. Therefore, it is not legitimate. Second question, why then is secessionist agitation a threat to Nigeria's unity? Number one, if left untouched, they get to entrench their ideologies in the society. So firstly, the entire case is premised on an assumption, and the assumption is that the Nigerian government will implement constitutional restructuring and decentralization of power. We challenge the second speaker to come to justify why that would happen. But secondly, even if the Nigerian government implements it, the demand for secessionist groups varies and cannot be all addressed by just constitutional restructuring and decentralization of power. For example, IPOB, Oodua People's Congress, all push for ethnic separation, whereas Niger Delta Avengers want resource control. Why constitutional restructuring and decentralization of power can address the problem of Niger Delta Avengers, it may not address that of the others who want to break out completely from the country. And this is not just an assertion. During Kano's interview with Channel TV in 2020, head of IPOB, he stated that our goal is to outrightly be independent and not political restructuring. For all of these reasons, because we push for one Nigeria and we do not want it to split, very proud to oppose. Thank you.
A round of applause yet again. Is there here? Do we have alumni from Lagos State University in the room? Anybody? Oh, nice. Do we have alumni from Federal University of Technology in the room? Akure? Okay, don't worry. We're all here. Okay, beautiful. And we move on, taking it further. I invite the second speaker from the supporting side, Lagos State University, Ajeniya Adukadri.
Again, today's debate topic is a question of concept and not that of practice. Ladies and gentlemen, you see, the opposition's argument is centered on how secessionist agitation would help disrupt the unity in the country. But let me ask a question. Is it possible for a concept to threaten another concept that is not even in existence? Is it possible for secessionist agitation to threaten Nigerians' unity when Nigeria in itself is far from being a united nation? The civic social society defined a united nation as a nation that is capable of utilizing its resources to favor every member of a state. By the standard of this definition, Nigeria is far from being a united nation, and secessionist agitation cannot be said to be a threat to Nigeria, because being a united nation and being Nigeria are two parallel lines. They can never meet. Ladies and gentlemen, you see, we need to ask this question: what is a threat, and what constitutes threats to national unity? The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines threat as the express intention to inflict damage, evil, or injury to a particular concept. From this definition, it can be inferable that a threat to national unity is every conduct that threatens to inflict damage, evil, or injury to every concept dedicated to fostering national unity. Panel, it begs the question. Nigeria. I am a Nigerian, and I grew up in a family of 4 where unity existed in my family. But the moment my mother started treating my cousins better than we, our children, unity disappeared and the home destroyed. But what happened? We gave our parents 2 conditions: to either strengthen the unity in the home by treating everybody on an equal pedestal, or letting we, our children, leave home, live outside of home, to create a united home outside of home. And this is exactly what happened with secessionist agitation in the South. As the United Nations established in one of their articles that the major reason why the people's agitation was as a result of the fact that they felt marginalized, and they felt marginalized and subjected by Northern region, because the Northern region got higher revenues as opposed to them that were getting little incentives. And this is exactly what we're advocating for in today's debate. There is nothing wrong in fighting for equality. There is nothing wrong in fighting for autonomy. And there is nothing wrong in fighting and standing against what is wrong for what is right. Let's take another example. The movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta. According to the Global History Catalogue, it revealed that this movement was initiated because to get better compensations for Nigerians in the Niger Delta who were subjected to the damage and the injuries caused by all exploration in the Niger Delta. By the standard of this concept, it just goes to show that secessionist agitation aims at helping you get what you deserve as a part of a country, Nigeria. Democracy is truly a government for the people, by the people, and of the people. And it would be largely inappropriate for a part of the people to feel segregated, for a part of the people to be marginalized, because that is not a democratic nation that we want.
Another round of applause right there. Okay, and very quickly we'll call up the second speaker from the opposition, from Federal University of Technology, Akure, Osusakin Samuel.
Imagine in a building apartment, a resident notices smoke coming from a small kitchen fire. Now, instead of calmly calling the fire department, he starts running through the halls, shouting, "The building is burning down, every man for himself." Now, his warning is true. There's actually a fire. But his panic causes chaos. People trample on each other, valuables are abandoned, and then the building suffers damage far greater than the small fire. Now, opposition says his concept is never to destroy the building, but his actions did anyways. So 2 things they said in today's debate, in today's conversation. So first, they say that the goal of secessionist group is not actually to secede. It's just only a concept to draw the government's attention and seek reforms. But first, I find it counterintuitive to say that a secessionist group does not want to secede. But then secondly, the reason why a secessionist group will actually declare itself as such is simply because they no longer have trust in the Nigerian system, and therefore will not accept the Nigerian solution to their problem, and probably feel that the only remedy is to totally break out from the state entirely. And Daniel gave you examples of groups that fall into that category. But then secondly, they say that restructuring and decentralization is the solution. But now look at this. According to a Journal of Arts and Humanities published by the International Digital Organization for Scientific Research on Secessionist Agitations, about 11 of them have emerged since independence. It simply means that there is no one solution for all. Maybe we are too quick to forget that the Boko Haram Islamic State movement is a secessionist group that sought a separate existence from Nigeria based on the Islamic law of Sharia. See, what does is to recognize every secessionist group as a threat and deal with it according to the level of threat. What that means is that while we may employ military to deal with extreme cases like the Boko Haram, we also employ narrative supporting strategies to deal with the so-called peaceful agitations. You see, and as citizens, we must be able to leverage on coordinated peaceful protest, community dialogues and multi-level stakeholders engagement, collaborations with civil societies and NGOs, formal petitions to legislative bodies, and media advocacy. Of course, all of this won't be perfect, but then the Nigeria we ultimately want is not going to be a perfect world. It is a process, an ongoing journey of building and rebuilding, shaping and reshaping the narratives that binds us together. It is a Nigeria that understands that progress comes out of the absence of challenges, but one that exactly recognizes them and seeks to face them collectively. It is a Nigeria that understands that the growth that we seek in our world comes by unity in diversity. It is a Nigeria where we seek or where we strive to say that unity should not just be our slogan, but a lived reality for all. On this ground, we stand to oppose. Thank you.
You can do better. Another round of applause there. Fantastic. The judges have a very serious one there. I can imagine. And up next, we'll be having the closing remarks on this. Afterwards, we'll have our judges share their feedback, and we'll be wrapping up this segment of the debate. So for the closing remarks, I call up the first speaker. Right? Is it that first? Yes. The first speaker from the University of Lagos, Oladipúpọ̀ Ramadan. 1 minute.
Panel. Opposition insinuated that we're tearing down the nation by legitimizing secessionist agitation. But let's remember what happens when the government ignores them. Biafra, Oduduwa Nation, emancipation of Niger Delta. The nation gets teared down anyway, but responding on the other hand pacifies the problem as already established by foreign presidents in my first argument. Secondly, the opposition insinuated that the end goal of secessionist agitation is to break away, but they're clearly mistaking secessionist agitation from separatist agitation. You see, secessionist agitation is an advocacy for formation of an independent nation. So it's a suggestion that if you cannot pacify us, if you cannot solve our problem, then we will break away. We're not saying we want to break away. It's a suggestion for a solution. And lastly, the opposition also insinuated that the question is not whether it's a legitimate cause. But if you remember the motion, the question outrightly states whether it is a legitimate cause for attention. And if your answer is no, and you haven't preferred alternatives, then you're saying we ignore them, but that threatens unity, divides the nation, and causes violence. So what you're saying is that it's legitimate for the government to ignore their most important duty, which is clearly a flawed ideology. Thank you.
Up next, the first speaker from the opposing, Akinyiwola Daniel.
So firstly, opposition told you that we are far from unity. And as a result, they want us to legitimize a movement that further tears us apart and breaks us down as a nation. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe this is counterintuitive, because if we want to achieve unity, there are better ways to achieve constitutional restructuring, not legitimizing a movement that seeks to further distract us and break us down. This is because it undermines the sacrifice of our heroes past who fought for independence, who sacrificed their lives to ensure that we are alive today. And ladies and gentlemen, it is for those reasons that we are very proud to say pushing for a movement that further splits us is not legitimate. There are better ways to achieve it, like protest. We can do better. We can fight for unity and help the one Nigeria. Thank you.
A round of applause right there. Let's make it better. Yet again, this debate competition is brought to you by LEAP Africa through the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund. At this point, I'll be having our judges. Do we have our judges come up? No, just share your feedback, or we'll just meet you right there. Okay, please. Yes, we'll start from Dr. I mean, so you could choose to give a feedback as a group or to each person. Okay, just a few minutes. Okay, that's fine. Our judges are trying to put together their thoughts. So while they do that, I would like to acknowledge the presence of, you remember I mentioned that while we work with students in tertiary institutions, we have some of them who implement community change projects. This year we funded 57 teams implementing community change projects across Nigeria. Are we together? Are we together? It's a conversation, and many of us feel like, I think I have my points here, I think I have, but please stay with me, stay with me. Fantastic. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of some of our outstanding project leads. So out of the 57 teams, we had 3 outstanding project teams that did remarkably well on their projects. They completed their projects, sent in quality reports, and you could also see how well they used the funds given to them in carrying out projects in their communities. We saw thorough stakeholders' engagement in their work, and as well as, you know, the impacts they made in their community. And so in no particular order, I just want you to rise so the people know you and they see that you're one of our incredible people across Nigeria doing amazing work. We have Hansin Owodiye from the University of Uyo. I'm not sure I pronounced your surname right, forgive me. But he carried out an education intervention in Uyo, did a couple of education training and paid school fees for a couple of indigent students across the area. Please, a round of applause once again for Hansen. Well done. And we also have with us Amara Precious, right? Did I pronounce that well? So she also carried out from Alex Ekweme University. She also carried out an education intervention in Ebonyi State, where she sort of did renovated the library, provided them with chairs and tables, did some furnitures and got them books. Amazing work in that community. A round of applause again for her. And then we also have with us Sefemisi Oboho from the University of Uyo, the Trailblazers. For her, she got into a community that they were having issues with water. And so her and her team came together to provide the community with clean water. And right now, that community with hundreds of people have access to clean water. Thank you yet once again for such a brilliant work you've done. Okay, I believe that our judges have put their thoughts together. And so I'll be going over to our judges, and they would just each share feedback on the sessions we just had. Dr. Aminu, do you want to start with you? Okay, they're still putting, okay. So we'll listen to Amabel, Director of Program Sleep Africa.
Okay, thank you so much, Joy, and thank you so much to debaters. This mic is going off and on. I want to say really well done. I can't see the last guy's face. Hi. So, firstly, I want to really commend you guys for getting to this point, getting to the finals. I know that you've had successive, rounds that brought you here, and that's a testament to your capacity and your competence for persuasive speech and debating. So really well done to all of you. So I'm going to just give some feedback. I want to say all of you had really strong openings. I enjoyed the strong analogies that you used to basically drive home your initial points. But I would say that for Lagos State, I enjoyed your use of a lot of research. It showed me that you had a good grasp of the topic. It showed me that you researched a lot, because both of you were speaking ad lib. You weren't really referring to notes, which is impressive. For the second team, I think Zakure, Federal University of Technology, Akure, also really great openings and stories. But I felt that there's a bit of conjecture in some of the things you said. So it felt subjective in terms of, you emphasize the sovereignty of Nigeria, the reason why there should not be secessionism here. But it wasn't, thank you. Can I change this? Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. It would have been better if it was much more objective. So I would have liked for you to to extrapolate from other experiences across the world that show that indeed when secessionist agitations happen, it always leads to violence. You know, there were some things you said that I would challenge in terms of it felt like, again, conjecture. But in spite of that, your delivery was great. Both teams, your delivery was great. I feel for Team 2, there was a stronger use of the pathos of persuasive speech, which is playing to the emotions of the crowd. And for Team 1, which is Lagos State, there was a strong use of logic, logos, which is playing to the logical reasoning of the topic. And I think that was really great. And both are good, by the way, but there should be a balance. So while you're using logos, you also be thinking about the pathos, the emotive part, the logic, that's logos, and the ethos, the ethical part, which you did, just the balance. And for the second team, the same thing. So if you're playing to the emotions, you should also be balancing it by the strong logical argument behind it. But really, really great from both teams. It was really difficult to even know how to score, but well done. I'm really proud of the work you guys have done. Well done.
Thank you so much. Okay? Okay, yes, Mr. Elijah.
Well, thank you so very much, the debaters. You did a great job. In fact, it was very educative. I literally was more engrossed listening to you guys than really examining you, but of course, I did my own bit of examining the both of the parties, you know, listening to the team from Lagos, and you're wondering, oh, I think these are the team, and then listening to the people from Akure, and you're like, oh, wow, because you're seeing from a different perspective. But I would say that the team from Lagos did a good job, because I know that they are really in a very, very, you know, with the topic, secessionist agitations. We are in a country that does not allow that, and trying to give us reasons beyond every reasonable doubt that this is something that we should adopt and implement in our own nation state is really something that you must have to do a lot of research in order to convince us. And you did a lot of work. The team did a lot of work in trying to convince us to buy into the idea of secessionist agitations, which I think it's not a bad thing to engage with, because the point you raised during the closing remark, you said it is rather not, we're not trying to come against the democracy. It's just an agitation, a suggestion. You're not saying this is what must have to be, but if you cannot, you know, meet our own needs, solve the issues of marginalization, then we should consider changing. So that is a very powerful or strong point that you brought out there. And then of course your presentation style, the fact she already mentioned it, the fact that you could do that barely without looking at your material, because it could also be distracting to always refer back to your material. And then back to the team from Akure, you did a great job, and a great job in your presentation style as well, in as much as you had times to look at your material. But the fact that you could calmly pass out your ideas without shouting, without, you know, the composure, the eye contact with the audience. These are some of the things that I picked out, the eye contact with the audience, even though you were looking at your material, but the eye contact with the audience, how calmly you presented your ideas is also something commendable. But of course, like my co-judge has already mentioned too, you literally gave us obvious suggestions or obvious points. There's a bit of more research that you could have done to prove beyond every doubt that secessionist agitation is actually not so good an idea that we should consider adopting in our nation state, Nigeria. But this is just basically what I have to say as my remark for this debate session. And I do hope that the lucky ones get to go home with the award.
Thank you so much. I want to quickly apologize to Dr. Ahmed. I kept calling the wrong name. He's Dr. Ahmed Adamu. Thank you so much. Please, over to you for your feedback.
Right. Thank you so much. Congratulations to all of you. You have made powerful presentations. Let me start with the first presenter, Ramadan from University of Lagos State University. I like your oratory, your energy, your arguments are straightforward. For me, you get the highest mark there for the arguments. The first speaker there too did well for his argument. But let me focus on your feedback. I liked your clarity. Your arguments were clear. And the overall presentation was fantastic. You showed command of the language, so you are very good with that. I was not expecting you to do the rebuttals because you are the first presenter, but the second presenter didn't go against any of, well, I marked 1 point. You went against them. You referred to one of the points they made and countered it. Apart from that one, you have not done that, and there was a mark for that. So you got one out of 4 for that. But when they came, so they tried to use that to get more points than the two of you when you had the chances to counter their arguments. But they were better in countering your points. They were citing what you said and countering them. So there were only one instance when you did that. And there was full 4 marks for that. But you two, let me also say it, that your short memory of what you are saying has really impressed me, because you are not relying on a note to make most of your points. So also your colleague. For the Akure, you are very good with your eloquence, with your oratory, and I like your calmness, but you rely heavily on your note. And it was not convincing, it was not coming from your head. So it was more easily convincing when you talk heart to heart. That's why you like a point, but your argument were straightforward. You got the highest mark there too. So you made only 1 rebuttal there. And then your language, so you didn't maximize the use of language. But I agree that you have very good pronunciation. You also have, get some very good marks for the presentation. You've done well. For the second person, he got more points to you, to your team, than you did. I can see, yeah. So the second speaker got Akure more marks than you did because he was also speaking from his head, and he made 2 rebuttals there. And so for me, it's a very generally there's a good presentation, both of you. It's very difficult, so my marks are showing a little bit of tie, but one is slightly above the other. I'm not ready to reveal that yet. But you've done well. Please clap for them. Congratulations for all what they've done.
Thank you so much. So Ijoma Kalu will be helping to work with our judges in collating their scores. So we'll have a united scoring, and before we finally announce the winners. So sometime later in the event, we'll be announcing the winners. Thank you so much, debaters. Please permit me to quickly invite Amabel to give closing statements on this, speaking about Leap Africa, NYFF, and a call to action on your next steps on, how you can be part of our programs at Leap Africa. Please, debaters, thank you. We can get off stage. Thank you. Please, a round of applause for them once again. It was a very good one. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much to each and everybody that is here. Thank you for taking time out of your afternoon to be here with us. Special appreciation to the judges, my fellow judges, for also gracing us and lending their expertise. And also, thank you to my team members, my colleagues who have worked tirelessly and been all over the place just trying to make sure that this happens successfully and effectively. I also want to really commend the debaters. I don't think everyone has a good grasp of just how hard you've worked over the past weeks to be where you are today. You've earned your spot here, and I want to say congratulations. It was very interesting listening to you all, very interesting learning. Like my fellow judge said, there was a lot of learning, and I was engrossed in listening. But, having said all these thank yous and having listened and had a good time, hearing the arguments, we'll come back to why we're actually here. What is the purpose of bringing together, setting up, organizing this type of debate for young people across universities in Nigeria. And Joy touched on it earlier when she said, you know, the importance of really providing a platform for young people to be civic actors in an effective way, in a targeted way, in an intentional way, an opportunity for them to engage with deep topics about our national development, topics that allow them lend their voice and contribute and participate to the things that will make Nigeria what Nigeria needs to be. And that includes some hard conversations like the topic that they unpacked today. And this is what we aim to do at Leap Africa. Leap Africa is a youth development organization, 22 years strong, that is aimed at raising young leaders that will transform Africa. And we do it across various programmatic focus areas. We want to bridge gaps in areas of entrepreneurship, employability, education, active citizenship, and then health and well-being. And why do we select these 5 areas? Is because if you take the average young person in Africa, just an average from anywhere, you'll find that they will struggle or be challenged in one or all of these areas across their youth, basically. And it's something that needs to be corrected, something that needs to be intervened upon. And that is why we exist. That's why we do what we do. And through our active citizenship arm, we host the Nigerian Youth Futures Fund, which is actually the organizer of this particular debate. It comes under the Youth Leadership Development Program. And Nigerian Youth Futures Fund is targeted at Nigerian young people to do exactly what I said earlier, raise young civic actors who will participate, who will be active, who will be resourced, equipped, enabled, empowered in matters of national development. And part of that is giving them the voice, the platform to share their ideas, their thoughts, just like what we're doing here. Debating is not just for fun and games, it's also to help these young men and women build skills that will last them a lifetime. One of the great benefits of debating is the ability for you to dialogue, the ability for you to advocate, the ability for you to reason. And that's something that is very, very imperative in our young people today. They need these skills. And so this is trying to solve that problem. And we're very, very happy that we're able to bring all you wonderful people into the room to help here, support, nurture this dream, this idea, this intervention, this program that we're trying to deliver. And it doesn't just stop here. We want this momentum to not just continue, but to even gain more traction, to, so to speak, snowball, such that young people across Nigeria are increasingly inspired to do what these young men have done, engage in topics that are very important, have the confidence to say, you know what, I want to try this, I want to do this, because the reasons why these guys are here is because they responded first to a call. So getting young people across Nigeria to respond, to say, I have it in me to do this, and then to submit themselves to the rigor is very, very powerful. And everyone here has a part to play to inspire someone near you, a young person, a family friend, a sibling, a colleague, to do just that. And Nigerian Youth Futures Fund, Leap Africa, we're here to facilitate and expedite that to the best way possible. So let this be a call to action to say, how do we work together? How do we make this not just a singular event today, but a legacy initiative that continues to raise and inspire and nurture a pipeline of activists, of civic actors that will transform Nigeria and transform Africa. So thank you so much once again. It's a pleasure, it's a privilege to be here. I was very happy to judge. Thank you to each and every one of you. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. And yes, over to my dear colleague, Joy. Some people are not clapping for me. I feel like.
Thank you so much, Amabel. Okay, we've got the results from our judges, and we can announce it. But before I do that, I would like to specially recognize one of our partners on the debates. They do a lot of work with young people around the future of work and employment, and they've been supporting this actively, and this is like their second year in a row, supporting us actively on the debates. Here with us is Ms. Uzoamaka Thompson from Future Work Africa. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for constantly being a support to us and being with us through this. Okay, so very quickly, before I leave the stage and hand over to Serena, just to quickly announce the winner of today's debate. I must also quickly acknowledge the Benue State University. They've been part of the competition and they came third position from the semi-final, so they are here in the room. Please, the team from Benue, fantastic. Those are the young men. By the way, our prizes, the first position takes away 2.5 million naira. Yes, good morning. The second position takes away 1.5 million naira. And the third position goes with 1 million naira. And our partner from Future Work has gladly said they will be supporting with some digital tools. Last year they provided laptops, and we're looking forward to them, maybe scaling that. We don't know yet, but they are always with us, constantly supporting this. So, our first, where do I start from? Whoosh, I even have tension right here. Woo, very hot. Okay. The first position, the second position, with 15 points out of 20 points, the Federal University of Technology, Akure, and the first position with 16.1 out of 20 is Lagos State University. All I do is win. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us. We the best music. Shake all I do is win.
Hey. All right. Somebody said that. All right, thank you so much. This was amazing. I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the debate session, and I enjoyed your energy. You guys are amazing. We agreed when we started that this was going to be very interactive. We are going to gist, we are going to have fun, we are going to interact, and the guys at the State House are going to love us so much. They are going to run back here. Did I lie? Are they not back? You see, these are the issues. You see, because this is the fun house. All right, so that was amazing. Thank you so much to Leap Africa and the Nigerian Youth Futures Funds for empowering young people. I think I work with young people personally, and so I'm very particular about things like this. So this introduction was supposed to happen. My village people tried to stop me. But it's good it's happening now, because now we have a full house. Right, exactly. Because now we have a full house, and my glory gets to shine. You know what I'm saying? So this is me. My name is Serena Hudson Francis. Yes, I am Nigerian. I'm Rivers State, so it's quite common from Rivers State. So I have over a decade's worth of experience in the development industry, 13 years to be precise. I run a non-profit. I'm the executive director of Superwoman Organization. I work with a lot of young women, and so I'm very particular about young women. We have a free skills training that we offer in very low-income
communities. A land of boundless potential, a vibrant mix of cultures, languages, and traditions. Home to over 200 million people, from the bustling streets of Lagos to the serene landscapes of Obudu. Our soil is rich with resources, from the crude oil that fuels economies to the fertile land that nurtures agriculture. But Nigeria's greatest asset is its people, innovative, resilient, and ever hopeful. We are a nation shaped by diverse tribes, religions, and histories, united in building a shared future. Though rich in resources and spirit, we still face challenges that hold us back. Yet, we continue to journey towards unity, equity, and progress.
We're seeing citizens, especially young people, stepping up, showing more interest in elections, contributing to nation building, solving social problems, holding leaders accountable and advocating for justice, ensuring that governance serves everyone and not just a few.
But achieving the Nigeria we vision requires daily effort from each of us. This is what democracy is about, where every citizen is actively participating. We're standing for justice and demanding transparency.
We believe it's possible to have
a Nigeria where leadership serves the greater good and upholds democratic values.
A Nigeria where diversity strengthens us and unity drives progress.
A Nigeria where social justice and equality are realities for all.
A Nigeria where innovation thrives and opportunities are open to everyone.
A Nigeria where progress is shared and no one is left behind.
At Leap Africa, we know that investing in young people is the key to unlocking Nigeria's potential. But it requires all of us, citizens, leaders, and institutions, to play a part in building a better future. Because the Nigeria of our dreams is possible.
Nigeria, a land of boundless potential, a vibrant mix of cultures, languages, and traditions. Home to over 200 million people, from the bustling streets of Lagos to the serene landscapes of Obudu. Our soil is rich with resources, from the crude oil that fuels economies to the fertile land that nurtures agriculture. But Nigeria's greatest asset is its people, innovative, resilient, and ever hopeful. We are a nation shaped by diverse tribes, religions, and histories, united in building a shared future. Though rich in resources and spirit, we still face challenges that hold us back. Yet, we continue to journey towards unity, equity, and progress.
We're seeing citizens, especially young people, stepping up, showing more interest in elections, contributing to nation building, solving social problems, holding leaders accountable and advocating for justice, ensuring that governance serves everyone and not just a few.
But achieving the Nigeria we vision requires daily effort from each of us. This is what democracy is about, where every citizen is actively participating. We're standing for justice